The streets of Chicago witnessed something NASCAR doesn't want you talking about. Shane Van Gisbergen's aggressive move on Connor Zilisch with 2 laps remaining has sent shockwaves through the racing community, and the aftermath reveals a darker truth about what really happened between these JR Motorsports teammates. This wasn't just hard racing, this was a 36-year-old veteran schooling an 18-year-old prodigy in the most brutal way possible, right when it mattered most. Shane Van Gisbergen arrived in NASCAR as a conquering hero. The 3-time Supercars champion with 80 wins and 46 pole positions had already shocked the racing world with his Cup Series debut victory at Chicago in 2023. He became the first driver to win in their NASCAR Cup Series debut since Johnny Rutherford in 1963, the first in the modern era. Now driving full-time for Trackhouse Racing in the Cup Series and part-time for JR Motorsports in Xfinity, Van Gisbergen has established himself as the most successful non-American driver in NASCAR Cup Series history. His road course dominance is legendary. Mexico City and Chicago victories in 2025 prove his stranglehold on these technical circuits. Connor Zilisch represents NASCAR's future. The 18-year-old Red Bull athlete won his debut Xfinity Series race at Watkins Glen and captured the COTA Xfinity race this season. His talent caught the attention of Trackhouse boss Justin Marks, who sees Zilisch as the next generation of road course specialists. Both drivers share the Red Bull sponsorship, both excel on road courses. Both were teammates at JR Motorsports for this Chicago showdown. That's where the similarities ended. The 2.2-mile, 12-turn Chicago street course became the battleground for what many consider the most intense teammate rivalry in NASCAR. Van Gisbergen started from pole position after dominating qualifying. Zilisch found himself buried in 35th place after hitting tire barriers during practice. The hot Chicago weather created additional challenges. Van Gisbergen's cool suit malfunctioned on race day, forcing him to battle extreme heat while managing a bulky carburetor. The conditions were far from ideal, yet SVG thrived under pressure. "Last weekend was epic," Van Gisbergen said after his dominant performance. "JRM built me a rocket, and I'm glad our strategy ended up working out and we were able to get the win." Meanwhile, Zilisch began his methodical climb through the field. Starting 35th meant nothing to the young prodigy who had already proven his racecraft at Watkins Glen and COTA. His Red Bull machine charged forward as temperatures soared on the Chicago streets. Van Gisbergen's race nearly unraveled before the drama began. JR Motorsports kept him on track late in the 15-lap first stage while competitors pitted for fresh tires and fuel. The strategy looked questionable when SVG found himself mired mid-pack after eventually pitting on lap 26. He restarted 19th on lap 29, following an inopportune debris caution. The road course king faced a massive deficit with limited laps remaining. By lap 36, Van Gisbergen had clawed his way to 7th place and began his determined pursuit of Zilisch, who had taken the lead. Zilisch controlled laps 38 through 48, managing his fuel load while fending off pressure from behind. The teenager showed remarkable composure, building a substantial advantage over the field. With 6 laps remaining, SVG had closed the gap, but still trailed his young teammate. Then, Andre Castro's crash into the Turn 6 tire barrier changed everything. The 6th and final caution set up a 2-lap shootout between the veteran master and teenage prodigy. Van Gisbergen's earlier strategic gamble suddenly paid dividends. His fresher tires gave him a crucial advantage over Zilisch's worn rubber. "I knew that was my opportunity, and I took it," Van Gisbergen explained after the race. The restart positioned Zilisch as the leader with Van Gisbergen directly behind. The stage was set for an epic battle between Red Bull teammates driving for the same organization. What happened next shocked even hardened NASCAR veterans. Van Gisbergen's aggressive driving had already been on display during his fastest lap of the race, 90.947 seconds on lap 44. He had cut Zilisch's lead from 3.5 seconds to 2.3 seconds, while the young driver conserved fuel. The veteran's relentless pace demonstrated his superior racecraft under pressure. With 2 laps remaining, Van Gisbergen made his decisive strike. Approaching turn 1, he dove to the inside of Zilisch's Red Bull machine. The aggressive move forced contact as SVG ran his teammate wide through the corner, seizing the lead in a single calculated maneuver. "I was clear there just barely on the front straight, and I just let him get to my inside and he took advantage of it," Zilisch said after the race. "I should have been a little more aggressive there. I just thought he was going to race me a little cleaner." The contact wasn't accidental. Van Gisbergen's move was deliberate, aggressive, and perfectly executed. He outbraked Zilisch entering the corner and used his fresher tires to maximum advantage. The veteran showed no mercy for his teenage teammate when victory was within reach. Zilisch's reaction revealed his surprise at the aggressiveness of Van Gisbergen's attack. "I've just got to be better and not let that stuff happen. I'll learn from it and move on." Van Gisbergen crossed the finish line 0.823 seconds ahead of Zilisch to claim his first NASCAR Xfinity Series victory of 2025. The margin might seem slim, but it represented a dominant performance under extreme pressure. SVG led 27 laps compared to Zilisch's 11, demonstrating his superior race management throughout the event. The victory made Van Gisbergen the sixth different driver to win for JR Motorsports in 2025, a series record for most different winners in a single season. His triumph also marked the team's dominance on road courses, having won all three such races with different drivers. "The car was a rocket," Van Gisbergen said. "Zilisch is a great young driver, and that was the first time I've really raced him. Awesome 1-2 for the team." Sheldon Creed finished third, 3.141 seconds behind the race winner. Austin Hill and Nick Sanchez completed the top five, while notable performances came from Austin Green and Brennan Poole, who scored his first top 10 at a road course since 2017. Van Gisbergen's relationship with Zilisch extends beyond their Chicago battle. The two had previously worked together during Circuit of the Americas preparation, pushing each other on the simulator while exploring different racing lines and gear selections. Van Gisbergen explained this on the Happy Hour podcast. The veteran praised Zilisch's adaptability and willingness to learn. At COTA, Zilisch suffered a DNF in his first Cup Series start, while Van Gisbergen struggled to a sixth-place finish. Their Chicago encounter marked the first time they truly battled head-to-head for victory. Van Gisbergen's NASCAR success becomes more remarkable when considering his miserable final year in Supercars. Speaking to Jeff Gluck, SVG revealed his lowest career point. "Probably my last year of Supercars. Every time I had to drive that car, I hated that car." The Gen 3 Supercars machine frustrated the three-time champion beyond measure. It was just a shitbox, boring car. You had to drive at 40% every time you drove, and if you tried to drive hard, you'd go backward or slower. It was just mind-numbing to drive. Van Gisbergen contrasted the current Supercars with the previous generation. The generation before in Supercars were like 400% driving. They were awesome, so I don't miss that car. This context explains Van Gisbergen's aggressive approach in NASCAR. After years of being held back by inferior machinery, he refuses to show mercy when superior equipment gives him an advantage.